Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Esteemed FaceTime with Leaders, an initiative by World Development Corporation. I am Falak Khan, anchor at World Development Corporation. FaceTime with Leaders is a platform for industry titans to share their experiences, thoughts, ideas, and best practices in order to inspire one another and future leaders. In a nutshell, we attempt to encapsulate the multi-decadal learnings acquired by these industry leaders. We also hope that by conducting these FaceTime with industry stalwarts interviews, we can bring together a global community of eminent personalities. By bringing together such visionaries on one platform, we hope to play a part in inspiring the lives of other leaders. Great learnings from great leaders undoubtedly assist everyone by identifying, nurturing, and using the trade secrets that are proven success formulas for many. And this is what we aim for with these sessions by making them a gathering of industry stalwarts and a knowledge-sharing community. We have one such industry giant with us on FaceTime with Leaders today, Mr. Tejas Sampat. Hello, welcome, Mr. Sampat. We are glad to have you here today with us on FaceTime with Leaders.
Hello.
Hello. So let me give you a quick brief about Mr. Tejas Sampat. He is a distinguished leader in the apparel, textiles, and fashion industries, carrying over 2 decades of experience. His expertise encompasses globally renowned brands like Nike, Calvin Klein, and Tommy Hilfiger, as well as prominent textile and apparel manufacturers and exporters. He is renowned for his adeptness in corporate responsibility, sustainability, and supply chain management, driving forward sustainable growth through innovation and collaborative efforts. His pivotal contributions, including spearheading the 3R initiative for PVH Corp and transformative projects at Nike, have led to significant cost savings and operational efficiencies. Currently serving as the Senior Director of Corporate Responsibility and Sustainability at PVH Corp. He leads operations across the South Asian region, underscoring his commitment to integrating sustainability regulations and circularity in the supply chain. So, Mr. Sampat, you seem to have been interested in the apparel, textiles, and fashion industry as you have an engineering degree in textile technology and have dedicated much of your professional life to it. What has been the reason for your interest?
Yeah, first of all, good afternoon to you, Falak, and everyone. Thank you for inviting me for this session. To answer your question, actually, I wanted to do an engineering, and I came to fashion industry not by choice, but or by design, but it's more of a chance. I wanted to become an automobile engineer, and I did not get into my desired engineering college, and therefore I chose to textile and fashion because at that point in time, it guaranteed me a job opening, at the end of the course. So it was more not by choice, but more by chance. However, after joining, and I realized that the kind of potential it has, because this is one of those industry which caters the primary need of people right across the globe. So everybody needs to have a shelter, food, and clothes. So the clothing is one of that requirement. But now, beyond that basic requirement of people need clothes or wearing clothes, it also, I realized when I joined the industry that it reflects how your personality is. Your clothes or your dressing reflects your personality, your personal choices, and how do you, carry yourself. So it's way beyond just a need, but it's more of a personal reflection. So that's how I see. And as I started my career, initially I worked with the manufacturers. So it was more of, working with textile manufacturers. And then I started working, and, my customers were the different brands, which like Levi's, Color Plus, Nike. These are some of my customers. And when I started knowing more about the brands, I thought, oh, okay, brands have their own identity, and there is a huge brand equity behind it, right? And everybody who dress up, who use clothes, they identify themselves with those brands and companies. So it's more of a personal choice again, and the self-reflection. And that's where, I was always keen to work for brands and fashion industry. And then that's how I moved from manufacturers to a brand. I joined Nike, and then from Nike, I moved on and joined my current employer, which is PVH Corp, representing two power brands, Calvin Klein and Tommy Hilfiger. So that's my journey into fashion industry.
That's really very interesting and a wonderful career journey, I must say. So you have spearheaded several projects across roles and responsibilities in the apparel, textiles, and fashion industry. Which of them have you enjoyed the most?
So yeah, I mean, as I said, again, a lot of my career choices also were not by choice but by chance. As I finished my engineering in textiles and worked in marketing. So I started my career in marketing for a textile company, and I was catering to the brands and retailers as well as exporters who were producing clothes for different brands. So that's how it began. But then, as I said in my in the previous question, I moved from working for manufacturers, moved to working for fashion brands and companies. Um, I started with the supply chain background, and I worked for supply chain for almost first 15 years of my career. So that's more on marketing, and then sourcing of the raw material, and then operations, efficiencies, on-time deliveries, and those kind of areas, right? And also worked on a lean manufacturing aspect of manufacturing to improve the operating efficiencies. But then last 5 years, I have a different gear shift and been working and focusing on sustainability and corporate responsibility. So it's moving away from supply chain uh, to understanding more deeper onto some of the issues arise in supply chain, because our supply chain in fashion industry is driven by people, the people who make those clothes, which dress us, people like us, right? So they make the clothes, and talking more about their problems, talking more about how the industry is contributing positively to the environment and the business, and also at times contributing negatively, because it creates a lot of greenhouse gas emission. It takes a lot of resources like water, chemical, and also one of the most polluting industry. So how do you solve some of those issues and make sure that your company follows those standards and set by the governments, regulatory bodies, and at the same time you cater to your consumers and your customers, and also at the same time take care of the workers who and majority of the workers who produce the goods or make garments are women worker, like 70 to 75% globally are women. So how do you ensure that those women are taken care, and also their health and safety aspect, and their empowerment and learning? So it's like the complete focus on ESG aspect of the industry. So that's how I moved from manufacturing operations to sustainability and ESG part of supply chain.
That's really very great to know indeed. So throughout your career journey, I'm sure like you've faced many challenges, and I'm sure like you've grown over the years with the same. But we want to know like what are the 3 key challenges you have faced during your career, and how did you overcome them?
Okay, so thank you for asking that. Challenges are very important part of one's career growth, I believe. And without challenges, we, as an individual, we won't be able to, move forward or grow in the career. Yeah, there are different challenges I faced at the different time of my career. Some of them are personal, others are professionals. And I would like to talk about, probably you're talking about top 3. So the first with the change management, right? And I did a lot of work in supply chain and project management side of it, where I was responsible for driving certain projects across the supply chain to improve the supply chain efficiencies, improve productivity, etc. And most of the time when you have these kind of requirements, you need to change the policies and processes which you've been used to for years. And when you go out and tell people about adopting those changes, and try and do things in a different way, in a better way, but it's always challenging. So you get a lot of pushback. People don't want to move from what they were doing, and I think that's most difficult part. So one lesson, I mean, I learned from the key challenge of change management is you have to be very clear on the objectives, what you want to achieve through this change, and communicate that very clearly in the simplest possible way to all the stakeholders who are involved in that change, and then remain focused on that, right? So most of the time we do these two steps right. We clarify the objectives, we also communicate clearly, but don't remain focused till the change is completely implemented. So I think these are the key lessons from that. The other key challenge I have faced during the career, that is mainly on sustainability side. When you talk about the business owners, and you have to explain them the ROI, the return on investment they do to adopt the better ESG or sustainability practices. Because primarily when you talk about these things, it always appears to those business leaders and owners that oh, this is an expenditure, can we do, or it's nice to have it. So you have to clearly explain why it's not just nice to have or nice to do things. It is more about sustaining your business to the level where you're doing today. So whatever are the basic requirements today, they are going to change tomorrow. Tomorrow, the new regulations coming up, the new challenges, and new companies who are going to be a competitor. So in order to stay relevant to the business and sustain the business growth, you need to adopt these things. And I think that's the hard part, because many of these are not written in the law books. They are not yet, formed law. So when you ask, anything on sustainability, the business leader thinks, okay, I may postpone it. I may, make the investment into some other areas where I get immediate returns on my investment, and this we can push it to the later part or coming years and so on. So I think that's another set of challenge where we clearly explain how this is directly associated with the business risk, and if these changes are not adopted, it could potentially impact the ability to run the business for them in the future. And I think that's the challenge I face. The third and the most difficult challenge, it's like that's more personal. These two are the more professional side of challenges. But then where you feel sometimes stuck in your career, in your own professional journey and growth. So I have also faced a couple of times in my career where I feel, oh, okay, am I doing the right thing? Am I at the right place? Do I continue the same way and I still achieve my goals and objectives? And that's where I always look to the external help or even internal. So first I'll try and look at internal, like how do I self-realize about the situation? What are the things not working well, and how do I improvise or change the way I do carry myself? And then if that is not sufficient, I go for more of an external support and help. And I think my journey with Directors Institute is also a part of that, right? Where I need an external help to embrace new knowledge or new areas where I need to learn and understand, excel myself. So seeking external help, and with that keep the growth momentum and focus on your future goals and objectives. So these are the things which I follow in my professional and personal careers. But I always appreciate the challenges, because without challenges, I don't think one can move forward in the career and life.
That's really very true and indeed inspiring, truly inspiring, I must say.
Thank
Apart from the textile and fashion industry, you have made numerous contributions to the field of sustainability. What do you regard as the source of motivation for it?
Yeah, so as I said, I have been working in different areas of fashion, textile, apparel industry. But that's the only industry I have worked in throughout my career of 20 plus years. I'm fortunate to have been working in different spheres and different areas, but it's always this industry, right? So sustainability is also an integral part of fashion industry. I let me just quote a few of the statistics, and maybe it will help clarify where I am coming from. Textile and apparel industry worldwide have represent 1% out of every 6 working human being. So is almost 15% of or 15 or 16% of working population represent directly or indirectly textile, apparel, and fashion industry. The second important statistics is textile fashion industry allegedly to be second most polluting industry after oil and gas. We all know oil and gas because I mean, the fuel and energy is required, for running the business or transportation, etc. So that's one of the most polluting industry, whereas textile and fashion not comes in that necessity category, but then it's still considered as one of the most polluting industries. Uh, and that's kind of not a so nice tag, for the industry to carry. And the third important statistic is about our industry is that it's one of the most regulated industry. Now, many of us think, only food industry or mining is highly regulated. No, fashion industry, ever since late 70s, early 80s, the industry has been regulated because it involves huge human capital as a workforce, and therefore their health and safety aspects, their human rights and social compliance are always in the focus. So that's how it's become one of the most regulated industry. Now so yeah, with the reasons I gave or statistics I gave, right? So fashion is one of the highly regulated industry, and therefore sustainability is in huge focus, primarily due to the large workforce, because the garments are made on machine by hand, right? So somebody has to stitch there by their own hands. It cannot be pressed, or you press a button in the machine and then in future, yeah, we talk about 3D technology and others. So maybe the garments will be made in a different way. But at this point in time, it's highly labor intensive. Therefore, a lot of human capital is involved and required. And in order to meet that human capital's need, whether their wages and salaries or working conditions for them, their health and safety inside the production facilities, and also their overall well-being and mental health and everything. So it's all associated with those large, the millions of workers who make our garments. And therefore, sustainability is very important. The other aspect of that is environmental aspect, because the clothes are made so of cotton and wool and those kind of natural material, as well as polyester and nylon as a synthetic material. Now, in both cases, there are a lot of resources required to extract those materials and convert that into textile fabrics and garments. Now, at every stage, we use a lot of water, a lot of chemicals, and a lot of energy, and therefore, it's also one of the highly polluted industry. And therefore, it is a responsibility of the industry to make sure that if you are not able to completely replenish those resources which you are using to manufacture the garments, at least try to protect that. For an example, there is a lot of water required in dyeing of the material, which the fabrics, the jacket you and I wearing, that to dye that into that particular color use a lot of water. Now, that water is either groundwater or from the other sources or river or any other. But then how do you cannot completely replenish. So now the technology has evolved to a level where 97% of the dyed water is cleaned and recycled and used back into the process. So only 3% which goes as a evaporation. So overall net water input is just 3% compared to what it used to be earlier. So I think that's how industry is looking at the solutions on sustainability side. And that's where I am very excited to work on that part of the business, where you are not part of the problem, but now more of part of bringing the solution either on the human rights side or sustainability side or governance piece through the new legislations.
Yes, that's there. And we wish you all the best for that.
Thank you.
So we want to know, like, what values do you bring to the table as an ESG and corporate governance expert?
So this is really a very good question. I think I'm still not a big contributor on ESG side, but learner. So last couple of years, due to my role in my company as well as in the industry, I started focusing on ESG and governance piece. At some point in time, I would probably to be called as an contributor or an expert on these areas. But for now, I'm learning. I think the key areas, as ESG suggests, right? It talks about the environment. It talks about the social issues, which we talked about, the workers-related issues, the challenges they face on the production floors, and also governance. Now, governance is much bigger piece because a lot of businesses, they are not measuring their footprints, right? Like for an example, a manufacturer who makes a jacket or a shoe for our industry, they not necessarily know that how much energy they're consuming, how much water they're consuming, the other resources. And once they know that, probably once they start measuring it, they should have certain goals, how they can reduce those resources. So there is a lesser pressure on the natural resources and generally on environment. Now, this is the aspect which is more talking about the governance. At this point in time, no clear legislation around that. But in future, as we know, more and more scarcity of natural resources, the governments are going to come and say that, okay, you are not going to use all this much of water. You're only allowed to this. If you are working on a packaging, you can only use recycled material in packaging. You cannot use the virgin plastics, virgin paper, etc. So these are the things. And then again, there is another law which European Union is talking about, even in India through BRSR, they're going to come back, which is about the end of life. Now, nobody can throw or even consumer throw the garment which they are using or wearing. End of the day, the brands would be responsible because they are selling those, making and selling those products to the government. So it's brands and fashion companies' responsibility to collect those used clothes at the end of life and recycle it back to the usable material. So these are some of the aspects, be it packaging, be it the using of the natural resources and virgin materials, or end of life. All these required certain level of governance. And therefore, I think it's very important for some of us who work on this sphere to learn and also educate the companies who are manufacturing, who are producing clothes and selling clothes, right? And then we will see that the future of the industry is much brighter, not what we see today as labeled as one of the highly polluting industry.
Yes, that's there, of course, definitely. So when we talk about technology, what are some of the most remarkable changes you have seen in your field with changes in technology? And what changes do you expect to see with the advent of IoT, AI, ML, blockchain, Web 3.0, etc.?
Okay, again, fantastic question. I think some of the problems which we discuss, throughout this course of interview, also has an answer into some of these technologies, right? Because technologies ultimately helps human being to fast track, the progress they want to make in the right direction. talking about one of the most important technology, which is right now helping fashion industry, is digitization, right? So earlier, most of the things were not digitized. Everything is on paper. So right from we call it tech pack, where all the details of the product, like what material is being used, in what quantity is being used to make one shirt or one jacket, those things were all on the piece of paper. And then hundreds of sheets of paper were like done. Then again the patterns being made, and those are all paper and different materials. Now with this day, we have technology which, through digitization, you can do end-to-end product creation. So when you make and design a product, everything can be, even the sketches can be made on your computer, right? So the designers can make sketch in the computer that can translate into the patterns. That's also digitized. And the manufacturing, and then you need not create that many samples physically, because there is an ability of the software gives you that ability where you can view the garment without making it. So I'm sure all of us try that virtual products on ourselves, right? So go on a website, you click on a shirt or a jacket, and it will appear on your avatar or your photo, and then you see. So these are I think the digitization is one of that, like end-to-end digitization of supply chain is a key. Again, the other blockchain is another key technology which we have been using, especially for traceability and transparency of the supply chain. Now, more and more governance, as I said earlier, is kicking in, where brands are responsible to disclose where they are sourcing where they're making their products, and also sourcing their materials from. Earlier, there was no such requirement or from any governing bodies. Now, to declare or to showcase that where the material is coming from, which region in India has grown the cotton, and it's converted into fabric, and then it's converted into a shirt. So those kind of requirement cannot be done on a manual piece of paper or based on the Excel sheets, right? So that's where the technologies like blockchain plays a big role, where you have blockchain combined with IoT, where you have a physical tagging and digital tagging of the products, and the product flows through this various nodes of supply chain, and it can be tracked. And also, when the consumer buy the product, I think you would have seen some of the brands already having this solution, where you go and scan the QR code on the product label or the tag. It will tell that this is the factory where it is made in so and so region, and then raw material is from so and so region. Also, cotton is from Gujarat or Maharashtra or wherever it is grown, right? And some of them, go all the way to farmer. They'll say, okay, so and so farmer made this cotton, grew this cotton in his farm, and therefore, if you want to make any contribution or donation, you can do that. So these are like, the technology is really helping to find some of the solutions, including some of the IoT-based technology, where I explained earlier, we do a recycling of water and other resources, recycling of paper, recycling of plastics. So everything is possible through some of the IoT-based solutions. So yeah, that's where some of these technology are very important and directly accelerating the work which we try to do in the area of sustainability.
Yes, and we just hope that technology grows for better.
Absolutely.
So as you know, we are building a community of FaceTime with leaders. It is aimed at cross-pollination of knowledge, something that will lead to robust corporate governance in India and build a community of non-executive directors for its robust framework. What are your thoughts on the initiative taken by Mr. Zishan Pathan, Mr. Hemal Mehta, and the whole World Development Corporation team?
So again, a very important question, right? And I'm really happy to see that I join and I associate myself with the institute just a few months ago. But then I get to see the leaders across multiple industries. They come from the field of finance, field from IT, corporate governance, HR, various functions. So And then they all belong to different industry, right? From IT, pharma, manufacturing, heavy machines, tools, agriculture, food, and fashion and textile, as I belong to, right? So I think it's a great way of cross-pollination of knowledge, and learning from each other and sharing what we know. And some of the corporate governance aspects are common, right? Those principles are same across multiple industry. And when we kind of talk and relate to a specific industry, we find more solutions, because some of the problems, like for an example, we are dealing in our industry, fashion industry. When I get to see and meet the leader who are working in energy or in mining industry, they already found a solution. They're working for years. So I think that way we get to learn and share the best practices, and at the same time they keep looking for us to give certain input, which we are adopting. So I guess that way it's a huge. I mean, I would like to give a huge compliment to founders of Directors Institute, and it's a great piece of work where leaders come together and share ideas and thoughts and learning from each other.
So these have been really kind words by you. It was fantastic conversing with you, and I'm confident that your insights will inspire future leaders. Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Tejas Sampat. We wish you the best for your future endeavors. Moreover, trust that this initiative by Directors Institute has unquestionably expanded the participants' understanding and enriched their minds. And all the wonderful different teachings that you've shared with us, the different principles that you live by, your wonderful career journey so far, I'm sure like everyone watching this, it is going to help them grow in their careers as well. So thank you so much for being with us today on FaceTime with Leaders.
Thank you so much. And it was very wonderful experience talking to you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Same.